Today on the show, strategy plus action equals purposefully defining your life mission. Great coaches and consultants like you have the ability to change people's lives and transform entire organizations. And your impact can often go far beyond the clients you work with. One of the reasons I love working with coaches and consultants is because of that ripple effect. This show is here to highlight your expertise and empower you with resources and new ideas to grow your business. Welcome to Strategy in Action. Andrew L. Anderson is on the show today, and we have this incredible conversation around this idea of defining your life mission. And I'm very careful in that phrasing. It's such a fascinating, fantastic topic that we really dug in deep with. And, you know, that phrasing, defining your life mission, this life mission idea, we hear that, whether it's your purpose in life and all of these various words that define it that maybe seem either daunting to try to define or so far out there, like leave a legacy. And okay, well, what does that mean? That's why I wanted to have Andrew on today to really dig into this topic, because I wanted some definition around this idea. I think it's one of those things that when I hear, create a mission in your life, great, cool. What does that exactly mean? And how tangible is that? And also, we get into why. Why is that important to even talk about that and figure it out? And Andrew actually took me through the process during this episode that he takes his people through when he works with them to get some language around this idea of mission. And it's not necessarily creating something out of thin air. This is what I would like my mission to be, but it's getting to what you're already passionate about, discovering what moves you, and then creating some language around that, and doing so in a way that allows for, a filter in your life to make decisions by. And that's something that, is very practical on a day-to-day basis, right? But it's also big so that, at the end of your life, if you've achieved this mission, is that a fulfilling life to you? So it's the micro and the macro both when it comes to this. Andrew works with folks one-on-one. He speaks on stages, and he's the author of a book called Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow. And Andrew is giving away some wonderful gifts to you all, and you'll hear about that towards the end of the interview. All right, let's jump in. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hey, pleasure to be with you, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. You're there in wonderful Boise?
Yes. Boise, Idaho.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like more and more, just folks I know, and then of course in internet land are, oh yeah, we're in Boise. Like, oh my goodness, it's the spot.
Yeah, you got to come, man. You got to come. There's no room for people to live here anymore, but you can come visit anytime.
Nice. Yeah. We'll be paying attention. We'll make sure you leave very soon.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I've got a good friend from high school in Nampa.
Yeah.
Out there. So he's close by. He's been out there, loves it so much. So it's wonderful. I appreciate you being on. This is going to be a blast. I'm really excited to dig into this topic with you today around this idea of creating a life's mission. And I think it's one of those phrases too that's something it's very loaded, right? People bring in their own connotations around this.
Exactly.
And I think it also seems something, it also feels like legacy and creative, all these, oh yeah, someday ideas. And I think there's real power in bringing that into today and letting that be a filter for your life moving forward. And I'm excited to dig in and get your thoughts around this. But to give folks a nice geography here of everything that you've got going on right now, and from book and a little bit of what got you to this place, fill us in a little bit, and what's led you to this type of work and being an author and speaker and all that good stuff?
Well, if you'd asked me 4 years ago or 14 years ago, or you name it, if I would have ever been an author, I would have said, no way. I mean, when I finished my master's degree, I thought, I will never write anything unless it's my own journal or a thank you note again. And it's funny how I was so set in my ways to not write that it took an act of God. I mean, it took a big calling for me to answer that call and begin writing. I will speak and talk and coach and share and train and all day long, but to put it down on paper, it was a different story.
So what was it? What was that pull? What happened that you finally like, all right,
yes,
I got it?
Yeah. Well, Jason, have you ever been to Zion National Park?
No, I haven't. Salt Lake, right?
Yeah, well, southern
in
Utah, just incredible canyons, right? Just red rock, unlike anything in the entire world. And I'd never been there before, and I always thought it was kind of weird because I'm from the Rocky Mountains, and I like pine trees and lakes and deer. Yeah, exactly. So I'm there, and I'm being told that this is like spiritual land and like Native American, and I was just like, man, whatever. But I'm standing in the Virgin River, and I'm looking up at this rock canyon, going on for hundreds of feet, just as far as I can see. And I have one of these nature moments. We say that you got to go outside to go inside, and I'm standing there outside, and I just feel the magnificence and the grandeur of this incredible rock wall. And it brought a tear to my eye, or two, or 10. And I heard this, whether it was a voice or a feeling, I don't know what it was, but it was from some power greater than myself that I call God. And the message was, Andrew, if you're experiencing this right now in front of a rock, imagine what people could experience when you fulfill the measure of your creation. And then I was just full on crying. And I knew immediately, in fact, the title of the book came into my mind, Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow. And I knew that there was at least one. There's a second book that I won't tell anyone about yet. It's secret. But I knew that this book needed to be written and that I needed to become a creator, no longer a consumer of media.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Because I'm right there with you in terms of, that's where I'm in Colorado right now.
Yep.
I that's my idea of mountains. That's my idea of nature and going out. And you've inspired me a little bit to go, all right, I've been hearing the same thing. You got to go. And so that's great. And it's amazing. I think to finally let that in, I think for one, it's different for everybody, but for some of us, we believe in what we do and how we can help people and all of that, but there's a little bit of arrogance built in, right? If to kind of say, I'm going to start a show. I need to stand in front of somebody. I'm going to write a book. Yeah. And when you're not wired that way of look at me, that's the reason to go do that stuff. Well, then those feelings are kind of built into there. And I think that's what stops us a little bit. I mean, you had your, hatred of writing as well, but I think that's in there. And sometimes it takes exactly what you're describing, to, all right, I'll let it in, because it's probably not the first time you've had the thought and the pull, however quiet or anything it might have been. But that's great when we can finally let that in, and go and answer that. And so when you felt that and you had this knowing now, like, okay, this, I got to do this, like, where do you go with that in terms of maybe the process, but also just like, what is this book going to be? What is that next step?
Yeah, I had no idea. In fact, I started going in the direction of the second book. And I sent a text. I've got 4 older siblings and incredible parents. We're all very close. I'm super fortunate to have that family unit. I sent them a text and I said, hey, I feel called to write 2 different books, and this first book is one that I need your feedback on, and I want you to share some thoughts and ideas with me on this topic. Crickets. This is from like, you know, my family. This is these are my biggest fans.
Yeah, if anybody's going to support that, it's going to be them,
And so
right?
I'm like, okay. So I start putting some thoughts, and just nothing. You talk about writer's block, or, you know, like for an artist, like where there's just nothing. And I'm like, okay, fine. I get it. And I opened up the second book idea. And when I have the opportunity to speak or teach or facilitate in training in any manner, like when I get into that room and I open my mouth, I feel the energy of everyone just coming to me. And it's like, I know exactly what questions to ask, and I know exactly where to take them. And that happened with this book. I opened up a blank page in Pages on my MacBook, and I started writing, and I had the same experience with my fingers in the screen in front of nobody as I do in front of people when I get to speak. And it was a beautiful, beautiful process that I was not expecting.
That's incredible. That's fantastic. And this is a subtlety, and it's something that's interesting, that's been in my mind for some things that I'm doing.
Okay.
But sometimes I think there's a little limitation too in allowing a process like that, especially when you are a speaker, coach, teacher of some kind, because you can't teach someone to do that process that you just described, right? You can't go, step 1.
Exactly.
Step 1, go to Zion National Park. No.
Yeah.
You know,
Get inspired.
Right. And honestly, to be okay with that, like, I'm doing something in a way that's unique for me, the way I have to do it, and to own that, right? That's powerful. I love that process, because as I've let that in more and more, for me, it's speaking, and it's, talk, through this medium or another, and just, oh yeah, this is how I'm supposed to do this, and it's not the way everyone else does it. I think that's strong, and I think that's the teachable moment, right? In that it's not a how-to on write a book, but here's a how-to on to get your truth out there.
Well, it's an elusive strength. It's the strength of the willow, right? And so the analogy of the oak and the willow, we understand the oak. It's got this strength that lasts for decades and sometimes millennia, right? The oak is one of the hardest woods. It's ridiculously courageous and committed, and it can't come down. And that's how I've led a lot of my life. But the idea of this strength of the willow is not a competing. It's a complementing strength, and it's graceful, and it surrenders, and it allows things to be, and it submits, and it says, okay, I don't know all the answers, but I'm going to let this storm pass through me, and I'm going to let my leaves and branches do what they do. And if things fall down, then I'm immediately going to plant whatever fell. And that's what a willow tree does. When a branch falls, if it goes into the ground, it will immediately start to grow. That's why there's so many along riverbanks, because they just keep sending up new trees. And their life doesn't last as long, but it reproduces a lot more than an oak. So that's that willow-like strength of surrender, not giving up, but turning things over. Sur in French means over, and rendre means to give back. I'm giving back control, giving control back over to a higher power than myself, and I surrender.
Yeah, and I love that very purposeful distinction. It could have been more of a title, strength of the oak, flexibility of the willow, or it's describing that, but to side by side, just what you described, like it's just as strong in its way. That's so powerful.
Yeah,
I love that. I'd love to get into this idea that, and it's an area you help people with. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this idea of having a life's mission around that. I'd love to hear about yours, how you stand in that. if that's defined and changed or whatever that is. And then, let's get into, why does that matter
Yeah.
at all, and maybe that's something that people can grab onto. And if they have their own ideas of what maybe we can inform that a little bit.
Sure. Well, like you, as you're learning, I am a lover of nature, and nature, whether we call her mother or father, but Mother Nature teaches some of the greatest master classes about life. And the oak is able to have the longevity and the strength that it does because of what happens from the very moment that the seed begins to sprout. An oak is different in that it will send down a taproot vertically before it ever begins growing lateral roots. And those lateral roots are important to keep its foundation, it keeps it steady. But that taproot is important because it's going to the source of water. And it will go to that source of water before it ever begins to grow horizontal, those lateral roots for stability, or before it ever even sends a sprout up through to the earth. And I think a lot of people today are sending out lateral roots. They're shooting up. They're doing things without having that connection to that purpose, to that source. And so when I get to sit down with someone for the very first time, they don't say, "Hey, will you please help me identify my life mission?" They tell me all the challenges that they're struggling with, and then I get to help them recognize, what is this all about? And so I love that oak analogy, and let's first and foremost get connected to that purpose and that meaning and be grounded in that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful analogy indeed. That's fantastic. And so what is that process a little bit for getting them? Because for some people, they've never thought about it, right?
Yeah.
How do you get them in that mindset?
Yeah, how do you get them there? Well, if their pain is great enough, and oftentimes the clients that I work with, they have been through the painful things. They've gone through the counseling, the therapy, the breakups, the loss of this and that, and they are usually highly successful people that don't understand why I can't get past this. I can't get to the next level. And I help them understand that, well, it's because you don't have that connection. What is this all about? What is your life mission in one statement? And the most successful people, you would look around and think, yeah, that person knows what they're doing. They don't. And so when the pain is great enough, then they're ready, right? They're able and willing to do something that they haven't ever done before. So that's a very simple segue when I'm helping someone in a one-on-one or in a group setting to recognize that need for that mission, that purpose.
Well, that's an interesting distinction too, because I think in a lot of, I'll say this work, right? The inner work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's put out there too much that you have to do this or nothing works, right? Nothing in your life works. And we see time and time again, right? That successful monetarily person, but they don't have this, and maybe it's, happiness, but the pain they feel isn't getting is not getting their business
right
correct. And that's this unifying factor. And I think that's what you're getting at, is it's not a matter of you can't move forward at all in life, but wow, if we can tap into this, well, then we bring everything together and we reduce those areas of pain.
And those moments of pain have a purpose. I am super fortunate to have 7 children, 5 of which I helped bring into this world. The other 2 are they're bonus blessings in my life, and my wife brought them into and I'm their father, and I don't call them my stepchildren, but as I was present for the 5 births, this last one was just 5 weeks ago, Jason. I got 7 kids, right? We got this little tiny perfect baby.
My goodness.
And I remember saying to my wife in that moment of labor, because we are crazy people, when I say we, I mean she, in that we do natural birth at home. And my wife is this just phenomenal warrior of a woman. And in the moment, right, when as a husband, like, I can't pretend to know what this is like. I don't even know what to say. All you're doing is praying because you can't do anything else. And the words this time came out, the pain has a purpose. This pain has a purpose. And if I say something she doesn't like, I immediately know she'll be like I can just tell, like, it's not hitting. But when I said that, and I'd never said it before, but I said, this pain has a purpose. And she was grounded. She was rooted. She was remembering what this was all about. And most people don't. And I'm not talking about labor. I'm talking about work. I'm talking about family, all the places that we are working so hard at. And they don't have meaning and purpose to the pain they're going through. So what they do is one of two things. They either give up or they suppress it with something that doesn't serve them. And so when you can recognize that, okay, what is happening in my life right now is not happening to me, it's happening for me. It's connecting me to this mission. It's grounding me. I'm rooted. And it is giving me the sustenance that I need to build this tree, this marriage, this child, this career, whatever that might be.
I like that. Strong. Let's paint a picture for folks on your definition of a mission. Like, what does that tangibly look like for folks? Does it have to be this big, I'm going to go dig wells somewhere, or, change the face of the earth?
Yeah.
Or is it small? Is it personal? And then also, is it this one big, giant life mission, or is it, do we set up a series of them?
Yeah.
Not to be confused with goals or milestones, but
right. Yeah. So I am not the authority on yours or anyone else's life mission, right? I don't pretend to be. What I am an authority on, because I've done this with over 700 individuals in a one-on-one setting, as well as thousands in groups, and who knows how many now through the book and online. But what I do know how to do is help you find it. And Jason, are you willing to be a little bit vulnerable with your people right now?
Oh, sure.
Can we just have can we just have a discussion and coaching, and for just a couple minutes, can we just put you on the hot seat and let's use you as an example, and let people put themselves in your shoes, because you're always putting everyone else in someone else's shoes. Would it be okay if we flip the role here?
Oh, we can. And if you're not hearing this, it's because Jason edited it out.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
right.
fine. It's easy.
Well, so Jason, let's just get real. And this is so simple. First of all, do you have a written and or memorized life mission personally? Do you have one?
No, I've done different iterations and versions, but no.
Yeah. So we're going to do this in like 3 minutes, and I'm watching the timer, and it really is this simple. And I asked the question, Jason, what are you passionate about?
Oh, connecting people.
Yeah. And what's so important to you about being able to connect people and with people?
That's the juice. It lights me up. I get energy from that. Every interaction, strangers, dear friends, yeah.
Yeah. And when you're feeling that juice and you're feeling lit up, right, and you're able to have that, what does that mean for you personally?
First thing that comes to mind is that I'm on the right track.
There you go. Okay, I love that. Now, I just asked 3 simple questions. I asked you what your passion was, what that does for you, and why, what does that mean for you? And I can just take those words, and you can go back, and you're going to, because you get to listen to this just like your listeners, and you can say, my mission in life right now, because I asked you about your passion. People don't lie about their passions. They can lie about other things, but they don't lie. When you ask people, what do you do for a living? They may tell some white lies, but when you ask someone, what are you passionate about? They don't make that stuff up. And so if I were to help you wordsmith this, and you can go and do it on your own, but you would say, my life mission is to connect with people in such a way that it not only lights them up, but it lights me up as well, ensuring that I'm on the right track. So then every decision that you get to make in your life, every goal that you set is going to run through this filter of, am I, through making this decision, connecting with people in a way that lights me up and gives me that juice so I then know that I'm on the right track? And it's a simple yes or no now because we have that filter.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. Because it is something that, even if there's tweaking wordsmithing, like you said, right? That's, I mean, you could apply that as a daily filter and interaction, a minute by minute filter, like you talk about, but also you can go as big as legacy, end of life.
Right.
Would I be fulfilled if the majority of my time on this earth was spent connecting with people and connecting them to each other?
Yes.
In a way that only I could do it, right? That lit me up, lit them.
That's right.
I love it.
Here's the thing, like everyone's going to start comparing, themselves to you now because that's what we do by nature. But when I ask that question and all of your listeners, they can answer it. What are you passionate about? And what does that do for you? And when you got all of that, whatever you just answered, when you got all of that, what does that mean to you? I'm on the right track, right? And that's now a value of yours. I understand something about you, that Jason has this desire to, whether we call it obedience or just to feel like he wants to know that he's doing what's right. And that might look different because someone else may say, I'm passionate about ensuring that this orphanage gets built in this country in the next 3 years. And if I can do that, then I'm take me home, right? Like I'm good to go. So it could be very specific or it could be very broad. I have found working with so many individuals that it's often more broad. A life mission most times won't ever be completed. I mean, when are we going to say, oh yeah, I accomplished this mission. I connected with enough people that lit me up enough and had enough juice. I'm done. It never, right? So your life mission is more of a direction you're heading than an outcome that you're hoping to achieve.
Yeah, I love that. And I hope that gives people permission to take that exercise you just took me through and do that for themselves. And it may sound silly, but like that's enough.
That's enough.
It doesn't have to always be this tangible thing. Now, with that North Star of here's the direction, here's what I'm doing, those tangible things will come out of that. And they may shift on what you've got now. It may be, time to sit in that and go, wow, is my job lined up with that? Is my business, is my, my goals in life lined up to that? Oh, or kind of, if I continue down this path, this is why this has been so hard. Oh, because it doesn't line up with what I'm really passionate about.
Exactly.
Do you often in these one-on-ones, if someone doesn't feel it, or do you ever kind of get that sense of like, you're not wrong, it's not that you're not passionate about or something, but I feel like there's something deeper. Do you ever kind of go down deeper with folks? Because
it may not be 3 questions. Sometimes it may take me 9. But when we get there, we know it. And I call it the world peace answer, right? You think of like these pageants and world peace, like what's bigger than world peace, right? Yeah. So for you, I knew that we were there because you gave me the answer. I'll know I'll be on the right track. Boom. That's the validator, right? And so when you said that, I was like, okay, like what's more important than knowing that you're on the right track? Like I knew it, like we got there. So for me, there's a sense of, is there anything deeper? Is there anything beyond that? And the listener can, as they answer those questions, they can, pose that same one to themselves. Is there anything deeper or more meaningful than that? And when the answer is no, then we've got it. We're golden. I mean, for you, is there anything, Jason, more important than connect with people in a way that lights you up and gives you that juice so that you're on the right track?
I don't think so.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone's listening, wherever you are at, whenever you're listening to this, let's all take a moment of silence and give some gratitude and applause in our hearts to Jason. Okay, yeah, we got it.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I'll add in a whole bunch of applause. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
there we go. That's right.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. That's great. And that resonates a lot with me too, because that's been a common theme for mine, but I've also not ever stated it that same way. That hasn't come up that way for me in terms of, oh, that means I'm on the right track and everything. Then
there you go. So then my challenge to you, Jason, and to the listener would be to take that, right? Take those words that we just pulled out in such a simple manner and ponder it, right? Meditate on it. Go be in nature with it, pray about it, and then write something that moves you. The word motivate comes from the Latin word movere, which means to move, and nothing makes you move or motivates you outside yourself. There's no such thing as extrinsic motivation, right? Like the carrot, the stick. No, what's moving you is that desire inside, whether you're the donkey or the human, right? There's a desire inside, and you want to write words that move you. So for me, my life mission is to bless my brothers and sisters who I believe to be God's children to live a higher level of spiritual strength. It's to influence as many as possible. And when I say those words, they move me. And every decision that I make at home and in my career, if it's moving me toward that direction, then I am in. And the decision's already been made for me. And so I challenge you and the listener to take what you have, elicited from those questions and write them down in a way that moves you, and then memorize it so that when you share it, like I did today, you can share it in a way that will maybe move others as well. So will you take that challenge, Jason?
I will.
Okay.
100%.
All right. And we're off 100%. The hot seat.
I love it. Yeah, that's fantastic. What was that process for you to land on that for you, and then how did that shift things when you're like, oh, this is it, and did it, or like, I'm on the right track, like already, or
right? Well, I am a unicorn. A lot of people figure things out, and for me, like, God has to smack me upside the head. And he knows that once I get it, like, that I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna help others do it as well. And so I think sometimes he doesn't take a risk on me, so he sends things in a very direct manner. I have known what my life mission is, Jason, since I was 14 years old, and I thought everyone did. Like, I thought when you got into adulthood, like, you knew what you were doing, and I am a unicorn. Like, most adults don't have that because they didn't have the mentorship and the leaders in their life like I did. And so mine came to me at the age of 14. And I tell the story in my book about, being a freshman in high school and not having any like real friends in my school. My close friends that I'd grown up with and that lived in the neighborhood, they were still in 8th grade in middle school. And when lunchtime came around and it was time to sit with friends, like, my friends weren't there. And I really didn't jive well with the football players because I'm a high sensitive, right? I use a blow dryer on my hair and I wear flowery shirts because my wife likes it. And I'm okay with that, right? I didn't have that knucklehead, like, talk about girls, all this stuff I just didn't fit in. And I didn't have any friends. And what happened was I instead of sitting by myself, because you don't want to do that in a cafeteria when you're a freshman in high school, instead of sitting by myself, Jason, I would walk the halls and I'd pretend like I was going somewhere, like I was, headed somewhere, so no one would ask me why I was alone. And one day I found myself in the boys' bathroom, and I went into the stall and I shut that cold, heavy maroon door and latched that stainless steel latch, and I actually got up on top of the toilet. And I didn't want anyone to see that I was in there hiding and crying. And I don't know how long I was in there. Could have been a matter of minutes. Could have been the entire lunch period. But I just wept. I was so lonely. I was so depressed. I was so alone. And I was just, it was awful. And I think everyone has a junior high story of some kind where they just hit rock bottom. Now, I was humble enough to talk to my parents about what I was going through. And teenagers didn't go to counseling or take medication at that time. That wasn't a thing in the late 90s. what they did is they put me in front of a great mentor at our church. And I was able to receive some really powerful words from him that I believe came directly from God. And he stated that life mission. And I have that whole thing was recorded and written down, and I carry that with me to this day. And it says those very words. Now, if something is given to you that direct, you are a highly responsible person, because as Spider-Man said, with great power comes great responsibility. And I was given that power, and I knew exactly what that life mission was. And I've been trying to figure it out in different ways from 14 on, but I know why I'm here, and I'm fortunate enough to have that given to me so I can help others identify what theirs is, because they don't probably have that person in their life like I did.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a filter, direction, like, my goodness. Yeah, because then, not that the rest of high school becomes instantly easy.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Not at all. But but talk about having something to get you through that, right? That even in those times, just like, all right, there's something bigger here. There's something bigger here. And I think that's what's missing for so many people. The benefit of that mission, that is not just, oh, now I know exactly what to do, but it's to allow you to get through, to take that next step, I don't know what 2 steps ahead are, but I know one, because I have this mission. I know I need to go this direction.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's everything.
I mean, Jason, it really does, even to this day, because now that I have these kids, and, the oldest turns 15 tomorrow, and she's getting her driver's license, because in Idaho, we give driver's licenses at 15 years old. So even today, when things are happening, that life mission allows me, as I stated earlier in this interview, that it allows me to ask the question, why is this happening for me and my mission, rather than why is this happening to me? And we go from being that victim to the victor. Like, this is building something for me that is allowing me to move forward. So whether it was the girl breaking up with me in high school, whether it was losing that state championship lacrosse game, or whether it was, my best friend, making out with my girlfriend that I broke up with the day before, whatever the high school thing is. And these are all real stories from my life. I am grounded with that taproot to that meaning, that purpose, that source. And I can ask, okay, why is this happening for me? And what is there to learn?
Yeah, that's so strong.
Yeah.
And it's something else that comes to mind with it, that this definition of a life's mission, this idea of one that you've lined out for us. The other thing that I love about it, it's not the right word, but in its vagueness, right? In its bigness, when it's not I'm going to build this, right? When it's this direction,
sure.
Vague sounds softer, like, I don't really care, but it's stronger than that.
Yeah.
What it also allows for, and I would encourage people to keep in mind, it is shifting, growing, expanding.
Yeah.
In that as well, because that may lead you in a direction for 25 years to reveal the next one, right? Or a bigger one, or something else. And make sure that we're not telling people, like, once you got it, like, that's you're set for life, because that can paralyze people in the moment to come up with one, like, well, this has got to be, oh man, this is the life thing. I gotta. So I like both aspects of that.
Yeah, well, and that passion can change, but it often doesn't. Because if you were to have asked my parents, like, who knew me best and watched me raise me, if you had asked them, right, from a young age, as they saw me developing, they would have said, "Oh, yeah, of course. Andrew was the kid that took the Vietnamese exchange student and played with him at recess when he couldn't speak English, and then asked that kid to help him with his math because numbers are the same in any language." So I was serving, and at the same time, this is great because this is what I do I'm a business person. I'm going to ask Jason, like, who else do you think I should, be speaking with that has great podcasts? And who do you know that I should be talking to? Because I'm here to serve your tribe. And I also recognize that you have things that you can do that will help me. And that mission, I didn't know what it was when I was in third grade helping Lap win from Vietnam. But my parents would have been like, oh yeah, Andrew, that has always been his life mission. Whether I brought that with me from another life or my parents instilled it in me, I think that life mission, it may take different forms, but it's always heading in the same direction. And you know what's funny, Jason? It's always about service. Because in that forest, the oak cannot exist without the animals, and the animals can't exist without the oak. They need each other, right? And then those microbiomes, like everything in the forest is giving and receiving and serving. And if it stops giving, it dies. And so your life mission, just like Jason's is to connect and mine is to bless people and their spiritual strength, like yours is probably going to be something to do with helping humanity in a service-based manner.
Yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind as you developing, and just that have your mind in that direction as you're answering the questions that you brought up here. Because I mean, I know for me, I remember being 8, 9 years old, like sitting my grandmother down and my mother down, I'd been hearing both sides forever, like blah, 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 and sitting them down, I still can picture them, like sitting them on the couch. You two need to have a conversation. You need to talk about this and connect, at this time. And that's been a theme, right? Being that mediator, being that. So it's fascinating.
So Jason, one other thought, if someone's like, I don't know what my passion is, because that can be real.
Yeah.
I'll share with you what Chad Hymas shared with me from his wheelchair. Chad Hymas is a dear friend, a quadriplegic. He is in the National Speaker Association Hall of Fame. Wall Street Journal named him one of the 10 most influential speakers of all time. Chad Hymas said this to me, and it rocked my world. He said, you don't know what your passion is? Go out and serve someone. And in that service, you will find what it is that you're passionate about. And it may be connection like it is for you. And that's not for me. That word doesn't even resonate, but you and I are both good people doing great things, I believe. But if you go and serve someone, you just look around, you open your eyes today, and you just become aware, you're going to find someone or something that is calling for you to help. And in that call and in the answering to that call, you're going to find out what's your passion is in that ability to serve and to build up, your brothers and sisters, humanity. So that's my challenge for those that are struggling to recognize what their passion is. Go serve someone.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I like that. I appreciate that, because that's definitely a common aspect,
Right.
And again, it's another area where we can get, caught up in, well, it needs to be this thing, or, and you can really, that's a very actionable step to achieve that. I love that. When did this, to, I guess, let's call it a business around this, when it comes to helping folks, one-on-one and speaking and writing the book, like when did that sort of begin and take form for you? And what was that first version?
Chapter 1 is called Grounded, and your listeners can go, and we actually just launched the Audible book, which I got to narrate this week. So they can get it on Audible and listen to me. They can get it, on the Kindle digital version or the paperback. But the story that you can read about in chapter 1 called Grounded is, I was a teacher for 6 years, and I loved working with teenagers. And at the end of that teaching career, I just got my master's degree. My first wife decided that it probably wasn't good for us to be married anymore, and I didn't agree, and that was okay. But we went through a 6-month separation with our 3 beautiful little daughters that turned into a divorce. And we moved states, and I was no longer teaching anymore, and I had to go out and do something. And I got into real estate because I thought, living in my parents' basement and going through a divorce and having a 100% commission-based job would be a good idea. I sold real estate for a year, which led me to coaching. And I learned about and hired and had great coaches in that first year. And then I was offered a position to start coaching. And this was, about 8-9 years ago. And I did that for that local brokerage, and I started coaching nationally for Keller Williams. And then the last 5 years, I've been able to take this on my own. And it was because someone saw in me something that I couldn't see in myself and said, hey, I don't know if selling real estate is going to be your life mission. Would you like to be a coach? And she, Stacy, offered me that job, and she saw that in me, and I will forever be grateful. So that's how I got into this coaching and speaking and writing world that I'm in right now.
Oh, that's great. It's I love those stories too of because it is such a path of, I think, coaching uniquely in its own way. So many, there almost isn't a duplicate story to how we get into all of this. I love that.
Yeah, and that time, a lot of people go through turbulent moments like a divorce or losing a job. Like that really could have it could have been the end of me. I could have gone into all kinds of places like alcoholism or whatever. I could have taken my life. Like people do that. And again, I understood my life mission, so I had to come back to that question: why is this happening for me? What seeds of opportunity are present in this perceived problem that are just waiting to be unleashed? And I would have had no idea that this second marriage and these children and this career and this opportunity, I would never go back to the classroom. As much as I loved it, I would never go back. And I'm so grateful that I went through those experiences.
That's wonderful. I want to make sure we touch on as we wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Certainly, who needs to reach out? I think there is an answer that everyone actually could benefit, but who needs to reach out and how do they do so? And make sure we touch on some of the new things that you've got formed for folks.
Yeah. So if you're wondering, like, why am I still stuck? How come I can't figure this out? I've talked to these friends, these leaders, these mentors, these pastors, whoever they may be. I've gone to the counseling, the therapy. Like, I've read the books, the self-help. Like, I've done the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's either something wrong with me or I'm missing, like there's something missing. And if you don't know what that something is, this could be, if you wanted it to be, one of the last self-help books that you read, because this will help you break through. It'll help you transform, and it'll help you be free. And then if you want to go back and read the other books, that's fine, because they'll build from there. But that person that feels like they need that breakthrough, that needs a transformation, that feels like they aren't experiencing that freedom that they desire most, that's the person that needs to pick up this book or jump into one of my courses or do the 5-day gratitude challenge or pick up the gratitude journal that we released this month as well. That's the person that I would love to be able to sit down with in a one-on-one or bring them into my media world online, wherever that might be.
Fantastic. What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so Amazon, you can find me, Andrew L. Anderson. It's Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow, how to find courage and compassion in a turbulent world. You can follow me on social media at Andrew L. Anderson 85. Anderson is spelled O-N, if you're wondering. I'm there every day sharing things, producing great content and messages to bless lives. And then I want to give your listeners a gift, if that's okay. Jason, we didn't even talk about this.
Please.
I want to give your listeners a gift, and they can email me personally. And my email is Andrew, and you'll put this in your, the podcast notes, but they can email me, Andrew at andrewlanderson.com. And if you just put in that subject line, Jason offer, because I want them to remember that you were the one that helped them get this gift. if they send that email to Jason, or to Andrew L. Anderson, Andrew at andrewlanderson.com, subject line Jason offer, then we're going to give them a gift, the first 30 minutes audio of the book, or they can get the PDF version of the book. And if you fall in love in 30 minutes, then you can go and get the rest. But I want to allow everyone to have that opportunity to dive in immediately.
I appreciate that so much. And on behalf of my audience, thank you so much. I encourage everyone to go do that for sure. I'm excited for the Audible version. I'm a big Audible guy, so that's fantastic. And I'm glad, big fan of the author reading it. Big fan of that too. So that's great. Andrew, thank you so much for sharing your amazing story here and to help us with this concept of a life's mission that not only is important and grounding and gives us that direction, but it's the definition that's really practical as well. I can use this on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely. Welcome. It's a pleasure to make new friends and connect with new people and be a participant in that juice, right, that you get when you're lit up and connecting. And I'm grateful to be able to serve your tribe today.
Wonderful. And we'll see you all next time.
Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of this show. If you want help creating authority-building video content or even a client-generating show of your own, go to MediaLeadsCo.com and let's connect. I'll talk to you soon on the next Strategy in Action.